Hi guys, I'm this movie guy, and today I'm doing my second spoiler-filled review on Rogue One. This will talk about all the new characters in Rogue One, which means I already did a review where I talk about all the classic characters and the cameos that we've seen in Rogue One. If you've missed that one, you should click right here to see that, because I have quite a bit to say about that. And now I have a lot more to say about the new characters as well. Of course, as I already mentioned, these videos are spoiler filled. There is no reason for you not to have seen Rogue One. If you've not seen the movie, you should click off these videos, run out to the theater right now. I'm honestly wondering what is wrong with you if you've not seen Rogue One yet. Really, just go see the goddamn movie already. Anyway, here's a spoiler warning, you have been warned. So, about all the new characters in Rogue One, they're all dead, so, well, what can I really say about it? I think that's really it. They're all dead, and if you've liked this review and you want to see more of my movie trailer and Star Wars reviews, you can click right here. Oh, you're still here? Oh. Well, I guess you saw the runtime of my video and kinda like have to talk about something, right? I mean, kinda have to. I mean, if you see the runtime of my video, you see that I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. I mean, what else was I going to put in there? Like a black screen for like 20 minutes to make the video seem longer than it actually is, to make people think that there's something in this video that there's not? No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna be a dick about that. So let's just talk about these new characters that, yeah, they do all die. There was kind of disappointing in the case of K2SO and Galen Erso. Like, I kind of hoped that they would survive. I mean, I never really had a, like, statement like, no, they are going to survive this movie. No, of course not. I mean, it's pretty much like, if they're not in the original trilogy, they better have a damn good explanation for them not to be in the original trilogy and still be alive. So in the end, I think they made the right decision and not have anyone live that we don't know, that doesn't show up in the original trilogy. So I just want to say one thing about the new characters. In terms of character development and what kind of backstory we have, just based on the movie alone, the movie didn't do the best job it possibly could. For one thing, I just believe that Catalyst is kind of required reading for the ones who have seen the movie and did not love it as much and feel that there was character development lacking. Read Catalyst. Once again, I've been saying it in all of my videos. Read Catalyst, because it introduces us to Galen Erso, Lyra Erso, Jyn Erso, Orson Krennic. All those guys that you see in the movie. Not all of them, because there still are some that you just have in the movie and aren't in Catalyst. But like some of the biggest characters we already know thanks to Catalyst, and that gives a lot more depth to certain scenes in the movie. Especially like the scene where Galen is in the hologram talking to Jyn, talking about the Death Star plans. That is a very powerful scene for me, due to great performances by the ones involved, of course, but also thanks to what I know from Catalyst, because it really ties into each other. The opening scene when Orson Krennic is facing Galen is a fantastic scene, because when I saw it the first time, I was like, oh my god, I know the backstory of this all from Catalyst, and I understand exactly what they're talking about, and it's amazing. And I'm not saying that you will be lost. I just think that with Catalyst, it just gives so much more depth to certain things. I mean, you won't be lost. I've seen people who haven't read Catalyst love this movie, and just, like, you can follow the movie just fine. It's perfectly fine if you've not read Catalyst, see the movie and you still like the movie. But with Catalyst, it just gives so much more depth. So I just can't stress enough how important Catalyst is as a read. Now, I'm going to dissect all of the new characters in this movie. And with the new characters, I mean everyone that has been introduced in either Catalyst or Rogue One for the first time in the Star Wars universe. Like, we haven't seen them before. Saw Gerrera, we already knew from Clone Wars, so already talked about that in my classic characters / cameos appearance. Like, we already knew him, so I'm not going to talk about him anymore. I am going to talk about the Erso family, first of all, because we start off with the Erso family, and the first death in this movie is Lyra. That really made me sad. because I really liked her character from Catalyst. She was a great character in Catalyst, and when she just died in front of her husband and daughter, oh my god. That was, in the first 5 minutes, just a gut punch, like, damn, that happened. But the movie doesn't shy away from just killing off characters. Like, it starts off like that, and it continues to do that through the entire movie. And at the end, every one of the new characters is dead. And I will say that not every death is as emotional as I thought it should have been. But like, to start off with, Lyra was pretty harsh. Then also Galen dies. That was the most emotional for me. That made me cry, because if you saw my Catalyst review, I said that Galen was my favorite character. Like, he was the most relatable for me. He was like my favorite character out of that book. And I really like what Mads Mikkelsen did in this movie as the character. And I was like, that's a great character. And he dies. That really made me sad. Especially like when Jyn Erso is just laying over him and he says Stardust. Oh. That... Okay, don't cry. You've seen this movie a couple of times. You know the death. Be strong. Okay. Oh, damn. That's really something. I just... Okay. Last one of the Erso family is, of course, the protagonist of the movie, Jyn Erso. I thought that her character was fine. Was like, we've seen her kind of character before, so it's not all that special to me. But I did think that what Felicity Jones did in the role was really good. Like, she gave a great performance. Like, as I mentioned, the scene where Jyn is listening to the hologram of Galen, it's an extremely powerful scene in Saul's palace. That was like, wow, this girl can really act, and her performance made me like Jyn more than I thought I would have, because the character is not all that interesting to me. And actually the same thing that goes for Jyn goes for Cassian. The only difference between Jyn and Cassian for me is that Cassian had no background. Like, Jyn I knew from Catalyst, like the young girl, so I knew the things with Stardust, and that added to the emotion. Like, in terms of Cassian, I've got nothing. There's nothing that there is, like, I don't really know the character. The only thing that we kind of get at one point is that he says that he's been in the fight since he was 6 years old. Okay. And that's it. Okay. But, like Jyn, the performance that Diego Luna gives elevates that character a lot more than I think it should have. Because the thing is, like, Cassian Andor, nice character. Diego Luna's performance as Cassian, fantastic. So in the end, I quite like the character. And at the end, when he dies in the arms of Jyn, like, yeah, that's kind of heartfelt. It's not the most emotional death, but it's certainly not the least. And it was kind of like, damn, I kind of rooted for them at the end, like, to just make it out or something. But everyone dies, so too bad. Now, a death that did emotionally impact me, and this was really due to, like, the fact that I really like this character. This was my favorite character in the movie that I hadn't known from Catalyst, which was K2SO, a droid. K2SO was hilarious. His banter with Cassian and with Jyn was just priceless. It was just amazing to see a droid be so funny and be so good, because in the end, he does die an heroic death, and he sacrifices himself for Jyn and Cassian. And that was really like, damn. It was really like the first time that I felt really emotional about a droid dying. We've not really seen that before in the Star Wars universe. Like, a droid that you actually care about that died, and you know he's not coming back. You know he's not going to get repaired, so that sucked. Now, the thing about K2 is that he's very funny. But there's not one line as funny as, "Are you kidding me? I'm blind." Chirrut Imwe was so funny as well. He was my second favorite character in the movie. It really was just a toss-up between Chirrut and K2. Like, both of those are really funny characters that I was like, okay, these guys just make the movie a little bit funnier than it should be, because the overall tone of the movie is quite dour. It's definitely one of the darker Star Wars movies we've had, but like characters like Chirrut and K2 really just add a bit of levity to the movie, but in a good way. Not in the way that you have a Jar Jar Binks. No, these characters are good, are like genuinely funny, and they add to the scene. Chirrut, I thought, was a badass. The first time that he just takes on all these stormtroopers was just great, and especially then when he ends that scene with "Are you kidding me? I'm blind." That was awesome. And of course his mantra, "I'm one with the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me." That is going to be something that will live on forever. I've already seen so many memes of people with that. Even that they added that part in when 3PO and R2 are walking down the hall in A New Hope, like, "I'm one with the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me." That was hilarious. Like, there are already so many memes just coming out of this movie, and most of them are around Chirrut, because Chirrut was a great character, and I think Donnie Yen did a great job as him. And of course I can't talk about Chirrut without talking about Baze, because Baze Malbus is his friend. It's like throughout the entire movie, Baze and Chirrut are together doing all these action scenes, and their relation was just really cool, was really funny, and was kind of heartfelt, especially at the end when they both die. Like, first Chirrut dies in Baze's arms. That was harsh. And then at the very end, when Baze is like taking on all these death troopers, like taking them all out, and then he sees the grenade, like, "Oh, I'm gonna die now." And then he gives one last look at Chirrut. It's like, damn. One thing though, not a whole lot of backstory to them. Once again, I really would actually like to see a comic between them, like a limited comic run. Not to give too much of a backstory, but just a little bit to make me care a little bit more and to understand a little bit more what the characters are coming from. Like, the thing with prequels in Star Wars, prequels and giving backstory to things, yeah, we've seen that doesn't always work. However, now in the current Disney canon, what Disney is doing, I think, is fantastic. Like, if you look at all the prequels that they've put out, I'm going to read off my computer screen. Bloodline is a prequel to The Force Awakens. Phenomenal book. Catalyst for Rogue One. Phenomenal book. Rogue One for Star Wars. Phenomenal movie to elevate Star Wars. A New Dawn and a Canon comic for Rebels. Make Kanan and Hera in Rebels a lot better thanks to the book and the comic. The Vader comic for Empire Strikes Back. I recently finished the entire run of the Vader comic. It is a great prequel to The Empire Strikes Back. And there are some others that I really couldn't think of, but there are a lot of things that they put out in terms of comics and books that really elevate certain things in the movies or in TV shows or whatever. It's all made with a purpose to elevate everything. There's nothing in the new canon that like drags down the original trilogy as bad as the prequels did. So I have faith in Disney that if they give us a Chirrut and Baze comic, that would be a good comic. Now, I've talked about most of the characters already. The only ones that I want to talk about are two Imperials, Krennic and Bodhi. Let's just start off with Krennic, because I already loved Krennic from Catalyst. Like, the way he was set up in that book, like, he was really manipulative and just a very good villain in the Star Wars universe. He really felt like a villain that was in the classic Star Wars trilogy. Like, he was not something new, he was something that we kind of knew but fit in well, and that was what I really liked about him. And the thing is, in Catalyst he's trying to manipulate everything, and in Rogue One he found out that manipulating everything doesn't quite work, so he just loses it sometimes. Like, he has a lot of these diabolical lines. He's quite diabolical in Rogue One, and I thought Mendelsohn gave a great performance as Krennic, because his lines are just funny, but in a good way. Like, not hilariously bad funny, no. It's like he goes all out with it, and I really appreciated that. Like, when they are first testing the weapon on Jeddah, and someone starts to tell him that they are able to fire, he's like, "Fire!" Even before the guy is just finished with his sentence, he's like, "Fire! Just go!" Later on in the movie on Scarif, then all the explosions go off, he's like, "Are we blind? Deploy the garrison! Move!" It's like, those kind of lines are just diabolically fun. In a good way. Like the way that the Emperor was in Revenge of the Sith. Like, diabolical, going all out with the performance, but like, it worked for me, and it was just funny to see that. And of course, the other Imperial, the one who defected. I defected. Bodhi. Bodhi, Rook, cargo pilot. A little boy, eh? Bodhi, played by Riz Ahmed, I thought was a fine character when I first saw him. When I see it more, the movie, I like him more. He's quite vital to the story. He's really a plot device, and I think that his performance once again elevates the character to something that the character is not really. Because the character is fine, the performance that Riz Ahmed gives elevates that character, because the performances throughout this movie are great. I love all of the performances, but some of the characters are just bland, not all that interesting, but the performances really elevate most of the characters. Now, Bodhi isn't by far the worst scene of the movie. Borgullet. See, seriously, we get a tentacle squid monster again after the Rathtar scene. Like, I know for a fact that most people who like The Force Awakens did not like the Rathtar scene, because it felt like a bad scene out of nowhere, should not have been in the movie, and the CGI on the Rathars was not all that good. So, what did Lucasfilm do? They put in a scene with a tentacle squid monster, which is not all that great CGI, that comes out of nowhere, it goes nowhere, it does nothing for the movie, and in the end I'm like, why is this in the movie? Why the hell is this in the movie? That initially was my biggest complaint of the movie. Now, I will forgive that scene, because there's another mention in this movie. General Syndulla. If this movie had not said General Syndulla, this movie would not get a perfect 10 for me. But it gives us General Syndulla. I mean, Hera is a general. Yeah, I'm going to give it a perfect 10. It's just how I am. I mean, Hera even has a line in the movie, or at least Vanessa Marshall has. And Vanessa Marshall says that that was just her voicing another pilot. Vanessa, I don't care what you say, that's Hera for me. That's Hera. I would recognize that voice anywhere. I would not say that that voice is anyone else than Hera, especially in the Star Wars universe. So, Hera's in this movie, she's General Syndulla. Okay, I can forgive the Borg Gullet scene. So, besides the Borg Gullet scene, I thought Bodhi was a good character. He really carries the plot forward. He's really like in there to carry the plot forward and not to be a great new character. I like the character fine. Riz Ahmed's performance is very good. But his death, that the grenade gets tossed into the shuttle and he just blows up. Weakest death out of all, I'd say. Oh, I forgot one death though. Krennic's death. Ironic. Really ironic. He's lying there on the platform. He sees the Death Star, the weapon that he constructed, or at least Galen constructed, and Krennic takes the credit. And he's like, ah, shit. And then you get Tarkin, you may fire when ready, and he just blows up the tower. And that's the funny thing, like the laser first goes through the tower, so Krennic is dead before the planet actually gets the nuke, which I thought was really cool, but I'm going to talk about that a little more in another video. But like, Krennic died at the hands of his own created weapon, as like he said, it was his achievement. Yeah, I saw this meme that like Galen made the Death Star, and Krennic is there like, you made that, I made that. And then you have Krennic there, Krennic made the Death Star, I made it. And then Tarkin is like, you made that, I made that. And now Tarkin made the Death Star. Yeah, ironic. And in the end, Galen and Krennic of course die, and Tarkin is the one who dies with the Death Star down. So in the end everyone dies, and yeah, fun-filled times. Now, do I really have a point with my story right here? No, not really. It was just funny to point that out. It was just funny to see that meme. Anyway, I think we're done talking about the characters. So, most of the characters don't have a whole lot of backstory. Catalyst is pretty much required reading if you want more backstory for the characters, because like it really gives a good backstory to most of the characters. So that was good. Seeing the movie more and more, I like most of the characters more, just because I kind of know their fate, I know what their part is in the story, and I can just focus a little bit more on them. So in the end, most of the characters are fine. Some of them are great, and that's mostly due to Catalyst, or a great performance. Like, most of the performances really elevate the characters more than the character is interesting. Like, the characters are fine, most of them, but like, performances of these guys make it really good. So hats off to everyone involved giving a great performance, making me care for the characters, and hats off to Alan Tudyk as K2. He was my favorite character. He did a CGI performance, I don't know exactly how, but he was my favorite character just based on the movie alone, so that was great. Anyway, that's all I can say about the new characters in Rogue One, and I wonder, what did you think of them? Was your favorite K2, was your favorite Chirrut, or someone else? Please, whatever you think, let me know in the comments below. Also, look out for my next video about Rogue One. I'm going to talk about technology in that video, like the new technology introduced in this movie, new ships introduced, all kinds of new things that we've not seen in the Star Wars universe before. So look out for that, because that might just be my last spoiler video. I'm not really sure if I have talked about everything after that video, but just look out for it, because I think that there are a lot of things I still have to say about this movie. And as always, if you've liked my review and you want to see more of my movie, trailer and Star Wars reviews, click right here.